Hi.
Hey, what's up?
So,
Nice to meet you.
One, hi, I'm Pat.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, Anthony de la Rosa
Hey,
is
DLR.
your intern, and he's one of my greatest friends.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's like, you have to go say hi to him.
Nice,
he speaks volumes of you, so I had to say hi.
My boy,
and then two, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your nonprofit because I started a nonprofit 2 years ago to empower women entrepreneurs and students in Honduras to break the cycle of poverty. So essentially, I'm buying products from the woman, selling it here at a higher price, and then the profit, I'm using it to sponsor an English teacher because right now, students only have access to English if they pay like $15,000 a year.
Right.
But Honduras is a super poor country, so like 2/3 of the population living in extreme poverty. No one has access to English. So I'm doing that, but like obviously the nonprofit world is super competitive, you know, and there's a million great causes. How did you like expand on your reach? You know,
Brand. The answer is brand and content.
But like right now, it's like my network is like 20-year-olds.
Brand
you know?
and content.
Yeah.
That's the answer, because it helps get everything into motion. Because when I started not-for-profit, as you said, there's a sea of them.
Yeah.
We resonated with people because we built brand, right? Because we did offline events that brought community together. We photographed them. When you do events, the faster you can turn the photos out, the better you can make people look. Boom, you get shareability. Now there's the online layer. Like, you have an advantage in that the majority of the non-for-profit industry is fucking archaic. They have no idea how to speak to a modern consumer, none. And so to all the young non-for-profit founders, that's your advantage, that you can amass audience and brand. And I'll tell you this.
Do you think you can still build the brand though, like if you're helping like a different country, whereas like people don't see that on a daily basis, so it's like so easy to like disassociate.
You can still build the brand. Brand is so much goodwill, essentially.
Okay.
And it's like, it's seeing someone, you want to be someone that, or a brand, either the corporate identity or you as an individual, that people like feel something when they see you right away.
Okay.
I like to think I evoke that, right? Like,
You do.
right? And that's because I've built brand over time. And when you get to that point, especially as a not-for-profit organization, when it's the deciding factor between who this grant goes to, it's the person with the brand. It's the person with the longevity, because non-for-profit, the reality is that a lot of the people that are cutting the grants are like short-term politician motivated. Like, they want to put money into things that they know are going to live on and that they know are going to reach the most amount of people. And so if you can position yourself as being that brand that has the most potential to reach a lot of people in a fresh way that they haven't before, you can win that space.
And do you think building your brand only consists on like social media?
Yes, I mean, not only, but a big, really big portion. I think you can do some really cool offline stuff that builds deep connection, but then I would capture that and then put that on social so then people could see the community. You want to show the community at work.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to.
Brand.
I feel selfish.
Brand is the answer. I saw your eyes like, but is it really? It's the answer.
Yeah. I think it's just difficult to build a brand in terms of like Harlem Capital, right? It's like, we're helping minorities, like I'm helping people in Honduras. You know, it's like.
Yeah, but you're never going to build a brand if you say it that way. I help people in Honduras. Yeah, you're right.
But I'm trying to show you, like,
I understand. But what if, because I could say, we're investing in black people. But when we did a brainstorm session and on the whiteboard, I said, you know what Harlem Capital's statement was before? It was like, opportunistically invest in companies that generate profit for investors. I was like, guys, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Scratch that. I was like, our mission is to change the face of entrepreneurship and invest in 1,000 diverse founders over 20 years. And the lights went off and we were like, that's it. We came up with the mission that we could all rally around. And you don't have that yet because you're still positioning it that way.
Yeah.
So reposition, same thing, reposition it, make it something that people can get behind and start the movement. Okay?
All right, I'm going to bother you on Instagram about
Yeah,
this.
I'll be pissed if you don't. Please do.
I will.
Okay?
We'll take a photo together.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Do you mind taking a photo? Actually,
I got you.
Oh.
Women take pictures better.
Is it true?
Don't be worried. I'll do two.
Okay, thank you.
One, two, three.
Do a silly face one.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna take two. There you go. That's cute.
Thank you.
No problem.
Nice to
you
meet
so
you,
much.
of course. Good luck. And please hit me up.
I
What's
will.
up, man? Kevin.
Yo.
John,
Yo.
man.
What up, brother?
So I've been following you for a little bit.
Thank you, man.
You know what I mean? In the background.
Thank you.
You know, and
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming out and talking to us.
Thank you, man.
See other people that look like us coming out.
No doubt.
Having these conversations is great. So one of the major questions I have to ask, you know, I have a startup, but one of the issues is mentorship. Like, how do you go out and get that mentor? You mentioned that you had a mentor.
Yeah. I think people will get the mentorship piece wrong because they place too much value on the word mentor and the title mentor. Like, I ended up calling him my mentor years later. But in reality, when you find someone who's like, when you find someone who gets emotionally invested in you, and because you're earnest and you want to execute on, like when you just see someone who's like willing to grow, people help out, right? So the flip side is, as you're coming up, right, if you are that person that people just want to help because you're so like, you know, you're exuding this passion, you're exuding this energy, and here's the trick, here's where people get it wrong. When someone sits down with a mentor, like when I sat down with my mentor, he would tell me, all right, John, here's the things you got to do. 95% of people don't do those things. If you come back a week later and say, yo, awesome, here's what I did, like what's next? He was shocked. And then another set, and then over time, you end up getting so close, you know, with someone, and they end up becoming more emotionally invested in you because you were the good seed, and the majority of people won't put the work in, so just by you putting the work in, it makes someone want to fuck with you. You know what I mean?
How do you even make that connection from the first? You know what I mean? So like, even going out to an event like this.
Don't go out to an event looking for mentors.
Like,
Yeah, right.
like where do you, so I'm already been out of college for 14, 15 years now. You know
Got you.
what I mean? Jumped
Got you.
out, started a few businesses and everything else.
Got
of
you.
the sort. And, you know, and a lot of the questions that they ask me, who's your mentor? You know what I mean? When I go out and apply for something,
Right.
an accelerator or whatever.
I got you.
Hey, so the first issue is the chicken for the egg. Like, where do you go? I know
Right.
this is what I need.
Right.
To get somebody's insight. How do you originate that type of,
Yeah,
facilitate that type of like introduction
I think
without wearing a sign?
I think it ends up being less about like going and explicitly like looking for a mentor, but more so as you walk the path. If you forget about that noise, resist the temptation to have a mentor and walk the path, on the path it's revealed to you, because you start meeting the players that are actually doing the work, not just talking about it. And then that's when you're gonna increase your likelihood to find someone who's in your business and be like, yo, this player's up and coming, like, let me throw them, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna throw you some love, you're gonna reciprocate that, and you end up finding the mentor on the path, not on the blogs, not on the events and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So consider me your mentor. If I'm in a capacity to do so, hit me up, you know, because we all need that like person to just, whatever, I want to be one of those to you. But I hope that brought some value, man. And I appreciate you following along and all that stuff. But yo, heed that. Follow the path. People, they're all there, man. They're all there, promise.
Thank
Cool?
you again.
My dude. Hey, what's going on?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
First, I want to say thank you for answering my DM.
Of course.
DM'd you, I don't know, like a week ago.
Love it.
I don't know.
glad.
I'm not sure you even remember. But yeah, thank you for doing that. And I think I offered to like buy you a drink or something if you would just like listen to my
Okay.
idea.
Got you.
I don't
Got
know
you.
if people do that all the time, but like I'm in hospitality and that's what we do. So
Got
what
you.
I wanted to do was, so you like started an incubator, right?
Yeah.
So I want to start a hospitality incubator for like chefs, bartenders, hospitality professionals, and also a way for like the consumer to connect with those people on like the foreground. So it's gonna be like part incubator, also part like co-working space, like multi-level.
Gotcha.
And when I messaged you, we're like, the business plan is all good, but you need to like get started
With the MVP.
Yeah.
So like the fastest proof of concept to what you want to do is something like this actually.
Okay.
Is an event. Incubator business is a bad business if it's standalone.
Okay.
It's a good business if it's feeding something larger.
It's not standalone at all. It's so the plan is to have like a residency kitchen. It's really hard for like a chef to like launch your own business in New York City.
Yep.
So if you pitch us, then you get to have like our team behind you, like our consulting team.
I got you. So, okay. So my feedback would be find because that's a multi-pronged like approach. Find the one thing there's like 4 little businesses in there.
Yeah.
Find the one that's the most important to start.
Okay.
Like if that's a residency kitchen.
Yeah.
And get a proof of concept around the residency kitchen,
Okay.
right? Because that to me, just hearing it is standalone,
Yeah.
more differentiated than the incubator. It's more differentiated than everything else you
Yeah.
mentioned. So if you could build the proof of concept around the residency kitchen, build some brand around it, do some content around it. Also food is very visual, so like it's a little bit easier to build audience around food because everyone eats.
Yeah.
And you can use that as the entry point to start building on top. Because like with Co-Found Harlem, we did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like we tested it with like some events. We started with the incubator piece, and then we went adding all these pieces, and now it's like evolved into what is now a venture firm, Harlem Capital. But it started with like the one thing, because otherwise you get
that's
into.
what I'm wondering, because I'm just like, this is like a multi-level thing, right? It's like
Right.
a co-working space with like a retail space.
Totally,
where,
and then
like,
before you know it, you're like, holy shit, where do I start?
Yeah, because you know when I watched the first episode of Hustle, and I was like, man,
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to support Ashley. We're doing a dinner together. I'm so
great.
excited.
Great.
Yeah, and I was like, man, like. It's so sad that like she did not have that access like, at Industry Kitchen and Industry City, because like she's there one day and then the next day they don't see her. But if like her thing was like there for a strict like,
Exactly.
3 months, you know what I mean? And
So
she's like
there's
in that space all the time.
there's a need for that.
There is definitely a need.
And more so than incubate, because there's a space is a commodity, it's everywhere. But that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've already been thinking that, but I would run with that.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
been
Hey, what's up, bro?
Good, man. My name is Andrew, man.
Andrew, what's up,
I
bro?
think it resonated with me, a couple of things that are kind of dope, and I'm just trying to, I'm at a crossroads right now, figure what I'm going to do next, and I think what you're describing, like you're in a nonprofit space, you went to the for-profit space, is trying to get ideas, like, as far as how do you do that, how you transition to that, because...
Yeah, that's a good question. When you force the not-for-profit to have monetization pressure, it starts diluting the quality of the mission.
Right.
Because like when I had my incubator, I started trying to sell events to try to sell, and I tried to profit off of the same people that I was helping, and that doesn't work. Right. And that's the non-for-profit is interesting because the beneficiary, the person who's gaining benefit from your service, is not your customer. And in for-profit, that's not true. In a for-profit business like McDonald's, their beneficiary is also their customer, and so it's a virtuous cycle. In non-for-profit, you get grants, and then you have a homeless shelter. You get money from one source and then help another source. So it's an interesting game. But for me, I want it to be like the type of impact that I wanted to have, like like donors and people who are cutting grants, like. They're not that forward thinking because it's kind of an old system. And like they were trying to measure my project in some old archaic way. And I was like, it's not gonna work. So I needed to scratch that, bro. And the reality is I took 10 steps back, reassessed what I was doing, same mission, but created a whole new vehicle. And the fund, now investing in a for-profit basis, like, we give you money, we get equity back. You have the opportunity to generate returns, and when you can do that, you can raise investor money, not grant money. Investor money. People who are like, I see business potential in this. So they invest in us for the double bottom line, for profits and purpose. And that has ended up working a whole lot better. And then when I'm rich as fuck, then I can start my own not-for-profit out of my own pocket and I don't have grant pressure. So that's how I ended up dealing with it. Does that help?
Yeah, it does help.
Good. Brand is not a logo. Brand is not a website. Brand is how people feel about you when they encounter you. You as an individual and or your company brand, right? Now, the trick is that the more you grow this brand, the more goodwill you have in the marketplace, the more when they encounter you, they'll immediately have this like trust. There's an intrinsic trust in your ability to meet their needs. For example, Apple. When you see an Apple product, you just got to see that logo. And for me, I already know that the product is going to be really good because they have that brand. But over time,
You felt warm.
you become connected to it. Now, Apple, there's a lot of these legacy brands. The really interesting thing about our time is that you can build brand from scratch as a nobody. Like doing this. Yeah. Like, I'm still amazed at the fact that I have brand equity. Like, and the really cool thing about it is when you walk into a room and you don't have to do much explaining. The context is already there.
Because I know my stuff is good. I knew
Right?
it.
But now, you have a mastery of a craft, right? So you should watch the next episode of Hustle because we talk about going from donut makers to businessmen.
I watched it twice.
The next one is about these donut makers. Like, I see you as like expert in, this tastes really good. You're an expert in your craft, and now I want you to embody that expertise, capture it, and put out a lot of content so that everyone knows that you're an expert at your craft. There's no question. And then when someone thinks, all right, we need cupcakes, I want you to come to mind. You.